Hey guys, I'm Ken, aka the SuperTechGod. And before we get into today's episode, I want to discuss something with you guys. So I know you haven't seen Lou or Val on a few episodes. Doesn't mean they're not returning, just means they're handling a few things and they'll be back in the future. But until then, we'll continue to have Snapcast episodes. We'll have a blast. We'll have new guests, new hosts, new segments. We'll do it all. Kicking off with today's episode, which will be the new episode of the new season. So we're starting a new season 2, from 26 to 50. And then everything from 25 and up will be season 1. And to pay homage to those guys and to all the guests that we had on the first season, I created an intro. So now we finally have an intro to the Snapcast for all the episodes going forward. I hope you guys enjoy. And please, I thank you guys for your continued support. And see you guys in the next episode. Peace. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Marvel Snapcast. I'm Ken, here by myself. My compadres will be back sometime in the future. Until then, I will keep running Marvel Snapcast and having a good time. Today, to start off the new season, we have 2 special guests with us. One of them, well, both of them, make amazing content. We'll start off with ItsGuestGaming. How are you doing?
Good, man. How you doing today?
Great. Welcome to the stream. Him and his friend, his partner, they make a weekly live podcast from the Marvel Snapcast. We're introducing the 5-time. Yes, the 5-time. Yep, the 5-time. Of course, but the 5-time. And yes, the 5th time. CubeRush champions, DefaultDan. How you doing, my friend?
Doing well, man. Doing well. Glad to be here.
Awesome. Guys, thanks for coming. Totally appreciate it. So, as you guys know, we have a new season upon us. But before we dive into that, last week's card came out. I don't know if you guys really dived in with him, played with him a little bit. I had a blast with him. It is Stegron. How do you guys feel about Stegron?
I'll let you go, guest, because you know my opinions. So I'll back them up.
This is true. This is true. I think Stegron is exclusively a card for fun at the current moment. I think that he is a card that brings a deck type that should only be used at Infinite Plus because it is fun. It is not competitive consistent to climb in ladder when you're going up against certain archetypes. Yes, it does have counters that you can use for very specific ones like Galactus, in my opinion. But Stegron decks in general, I feel like if you have to choose a 4-drop, more often than not, you end up in other categories. And you have a lot of reliance on other specific synergies going on. So I felt like, because I was messaging you all week talking about Stegron, like, do I pull the trigger? Do I pull the trigger? Because I never got sold on saying this is worth 6,000 tokens. I think he's a 3,000 token card.
Yeah, I agree. That's fair. I mean, he could be competitive, though. I think he can be a little bit. Kind of. I have a good time with him.
Kind of.
Definitely. Yeah, kind of. Just like Juggernaut, it's kind of competitive.
Yeah.
Right? But I mean, I still think works kind of the same way a little bit, right? So if you have Storm, you could partner with Storm. You could definitely partner with Kingpin, right? He's going to help Kingpin become relative. And I mean, I had a good time with him. Yes, I agree. He's not worth 6K tokens. Not at all. He's definitely a good Series 3 card, to be honest. Not even Series 4. But
yeah,
besides that, he's a great card to play with. DefaultDan, how you feel?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in that same boat. The problem is, and honestly, I've got 20,000 tokens laying around. I can pick them up if I want to, but with the cards we're going to be talking about a little bit later, like that's where my tokens are going, because he's one of those cards where out of 4, you've got some better closer cards, right? So if I'm playing him on 4 on curve, he's probably okay. The card I would kind of equate it to is like a White Queen, right? You're playing her on curve. She's giving you some value there. If I'm playing him on turn 6 to kind of steal a lane, I feel like Shang-Chi is going to just be a better card. I get it. There may not be a big 9-drop there, but turn 6, I'm wanting to do a little bit more than just move a card around. And the other card that kind of stands out is the one you mentioned, which is Juggernaut. Juggernaut's one of those cards where it has to be same turn. You have to predict where they're going. But I just feel like turn 6 Juggernaut allows me to also play another 3-drop. And so if I'm doing Stegron on turn 6, Juggernaut kind of just feels like a better card in that. They are slightly different, but yeah, I feel kind of what you guys are feeling. Maybe if he's Series 4, if I opened him, maybe I found maybe a use for him or something like that. But for the most part, Series 3, I think he would be fun to play with. But as of now, I look at all these other cards that I would rather play over him until maybe we have like 1 or 2 more cards. The other card I'll mention that he does work well with is Miles. So I think SuperTechGod, I think you maybe did some experimentation with that too in some of your decks, but he has a couple pairings that are pretty nice, like you mentioned Kingpin, but the randomness of it plus the randomness of the card you're going to hit. If Shuri was still the deck of choice right now, 100%, I think he'd be playable. He'd be, something to pick up. But since that 1-card deck has kind of fallen away and we've gotten back to these multiple cards, your Hit Monkey decks, your Doom Wave decks, things like that, like I feel like his value went down just a little bit.
Okay, that's fair. I totally agree with that. You're right. If it was still the Shuri meta, you're right. We know where Red Skull is. Send him somewhere else. Totally get that. All right.
Yeah.
So we have the new season, Guardians of the Galaxy, and with every new season is a Battle Pass card. And this season's Battle Pass card was Nebula. So how do you guys feel about Nebula? Did you guys Did you guys purchase a Battle Pass?
Yeah, of course. Okay.
All right.
Very nice.
Being content
Absolutely.
creators, I totally get that. All right. So what do you guys feel about Nebula?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of those that, just to start out, it did get the Battle Pass because I think one of the big things when it comes to Battle Pass is you're getting more than just the card. And I know you know this, but it's one of those things where you're getting credits, you're getting gold. There's a lot of extra bonuses, so it's always a good value. But as far as this card, we went from the land of OP cards when we think back of Zabu, Surfer, things like that. And I feel like with Nimrod, with MODOK, right, we're kind of coming out of that world of OP. So we need to understand that what we're going to get is probably not going to be quote unquote OP. But with that being said, I think Nebula is one of the best 1-drops. I'm not saying she's better than Sunspot. I'm not saying she's better than Kitty Pryde. I think all 3 of them in my mind are kind of tied for that first place, depending upon the deck that you play them in. If you're skipping a lot of turns, Sunspot's going to be better. But I think she rivals Sunspot in a lot of ways because it makes them have to play in a certain pattern, or she's easily a 1-3, which is on the top scale of a 1-drop, right? She's a 1-5 in most cases from what I've been playing with her, but I really like her. I like the way she's set up. I like the way she complements the other Guardians, and she's definitely a good card for the Battle Pass.
Okay, that's fair. What about you, Guess? How you feel about it?
I just want to enjoy her for the next 4 months before they nerf her. That's why I got it. Because, I mean, I'm going to call it now. This is going to end up being a Zabu Silver Surfer situation because she is going to be regularly on this curve of 1-5, 1-7, 1-9. And we're all going to see it. It's going to be the 1-drop of choice. And then eventually someday when she's dropping into Series 3, her effect will be changed to be +1 power instead of +2. Or she's going to start at a 1-0, very similar to Sunspot. And when that day comes, I will then be able to look back at the prior 4 months and thoroughly enjoy, wow, this was so great. I got to use this like this. Yip-de-doo. And I think everybody should because it is a little overpowered. Yes, there is the RNG side where you have to get her out early enough and you need to play her at that time to get that max value. But especially right now, it's the new season pass card. It's the new hot toy that everyone wants to play with and everybody will. And the second you can put it down on the battlefield, you're going to, because you know what the potential of this thing is going to be. And you're probably playing armor to shield away from all the killmongers. You're playing the deck of Nebula right now. And there's a bunch of them out there with a lot of underinflated stats right now saying how OP she is. And she is a really good card. Don't get me wrong. But I just want to enjoy her the next couple of months until they finally say, hey, yeah, remember that season pass card? Yeah, we got to change this one too.
Oh, man. Listen, I agree with you both. I think Nebula is a great card. To me, as a battle pass card, I don't know if I put it up there with Zabu and Surfer, right? I think those two cards were definitely meta changing, where Nebula is, like you said, kind of in the same boat with Sunspot, even with cards like Miles that can be a 1/5 at some point. I think Nebula, after turn 4, is she even worth playing on the field? Right. So it's the type of card that needs to be in your hand in the first 2 to 3 turns. And if it's not, it's just, to me, a card to play for Hitmonkey, right? I mean, that's how I look at Nebula at that point.
I'm gonna push on though,
Okay,
because
let's hear
at
it.
least on turn 4, there is one really great synergy that we're not capitalizing on yet,
Talking about
and that's Adam
Kiln.
Warlock.
Oh.
No,
Oh,
Adam
yeah,
Warlock.
yeah. Okay.
Adam Warlock with Nebula is a synergy I've been, kind of messing with, this afternoon, and I have thoroughly enjoyed constantly having threat of power in a lane and really forcing my opponent over into one direction. So it has been a great defensive card, even all the way through turn 4.
Okay.
And yes, otherwise past that, then she's a Hitmonkey card in the final turn. And
right.
Especially considering that her effect is broken with the bounce cards, right? Like legitimately actually broken, not like, wow, it's that good. Her effect doesn't proc twice with bounce cards. So I remember I was on your stream the other night and you were building a collector deck, and I said, be careful with bounce cards.
Yes.
Nebula's effect only has to proc the first time. So if you bounce her back with Falcon or Beast and then play her again, on the turn that you play her in that lane, if they did not play a card, she still gets the +2. So it's not every turn you play her, it's just the first turn you play her.
Really?
Yeah, so that'll get fixed though. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It'll probably get fixed, but again, enjoy it while you can. That's the theme of Nebula. Enjoy it while you can.
The other thing about her though is like the thing that I think balances her out is the fact that there's so many cards that can interact with her. So again, I know Electra's not really in the format, but honestly, I was playing the other night on stream. I got hit with an Electra. I'm sure it was a bot, but it did. And you do have Killmonger, you do have Polaris. So I've seen a lot of people playing Polaris like in the Surfer decks to move her around. So it is something to keep in mind. But the other one I think a lot of people are maybe not remembering because she left the game for a little bit. But Kitty Pryde is going to be a direct answer to her. So if you remember, Kitty Pryde is always going to come to your hand now, and you're going to have to replay her. So now you have a spot where, hey, you can play your Nebula. I'm playing my Kitty Pryde, and every turn I'm playing my Kitty Pryde on that location, and my card's going up and your card's not. So I do think that when that happens, especially when we have something like the Beast interaction happening, so now my Kitty Pryde is free and I can continue to do it for free and not cost energy to stop your Nebula. I do think that there's going to be some cards that kind of pop up. They're going to be a lot of fun because of that. So yeah, I'm with you, Ken. Like she's good. I don't think she's OP, but she's definitely one of the best better, not the best, but the better one drops out there.
Yeah. I don't think she'll get nerfed to that point of making it +1. I mean, I understand where you're coming from, and we've seen it a lot, but I think she'd get nerfed to become a 1/0 at least.
Yeah, I could see that.
But the +2, I think it has to stay there because, again, like when Kitty Pryde comes out, it's going to be a problem. She's not going to be able to get to that big number, right? Of 1/9, 1/7. I think 1/5 will be the normal number she'll reach, but she'll need that +2 because if she goes to +1, we're looking at a 1/3 cost card, right? So at that point,
she's not getting played.
It's above curve,
right?
1000%. The advantage of Kitty Pryde on the other end of it is that she's basically a spread out Hulk. You play 6 energy and you get 12 power. You just do it over the course of 6 turns versus all at 1 turn. So it's a whole nother strategy.
Yeah. Well, I think you could play Negasonic next to Nebula and take care of that Kitty Pryde.
Very true.
I like it.
Very true.
I've been doing that today. It's been so much fun. All right. So before we get to the next card or the season, you mentioned bots. Have you guys been seeing a ton of bots more?
Yes. So here's the thing. I'm an infinite player every season. So when I start, it's not as bad as some of the other streamers, right? I don't get up to level, rank 500. I get up to like rank 110, 115. But I would say if I had to guess, because I've started to click on cards now, at least 30% of my matches are bots. And that's just an at least. And the way I can tell for everybody watching this or listening is if you see a card with an effect around it, but it's a base card, so it doesn't have a holographic background, it's not inked, it's not gold, that's a bot. And I've hit those quite a bit, and they're a little bit easier to spot now because they've increased the crackle look of a card while it's on the board, so they're a little bit easier to spot now. So,
and those bots retreat super
yes. Oh my gosh, it's so annoying. I hate I hate the turn 6 retreat from a bot when they've snapped. They snapped on 3, I've snapped on 4, and then they retreat on 6. And I'm like, come on, man. Just give me my 4 extra
carrot,
cubes.
Right, exactly. I mean, what do you guys think to fix this bot problem? I mean, there's a lot of players now compared from when the game launched in October to now. I know some fell off due to the whole Shuri meta upset time, but we should have enough players to where we can wait a couple more seconds to play a real human. No?
Yeah.
That I don't even think that it's the issue about waiting anymore. I think it's a matter of the MMR matchup system where they've talked about that they've continued to, take that limiter every single season and they've made it smaller and smaller and smaller. But until we have a complete MMR reset where every single account for, even just do it once every 3 months, full MMR reset, get all of us back on the same playing field, then we will all go up against each other. Because the thing is, if you are in the top group and then you just got squished together, you're all still playing all against the top group. That's going to be your preferred matchup, even in a smaller pressed together MMR pool to pull from when you're getting your matches made. So it's not fully solving the issue. It's putting a Band-Aid on it for the first 6 hours of 30 days. And that's where we need to be like, hey guys, did you not just see the people who got to infinite in 2.5 hours after reset with a Patriot deck?
I think they need to. I think they need to get rid of that. I think honestly, they need to take a season and remove it and see what happens. Because I want to see those players that are, and I'm not saying anything about skill level, right? I'm just saying I would like to see those people going against a real person every single time. Because bots are very predictable in what they're going to do. They have weird decks that aren't optimized. So like put them against players. And what they're trying to solve for is that one person, right? That's going against the person that's like way higher than their skill level. But honestly, it's hard to tell after this many months, are those people's skill levels at as high as we think they are because they're getting to rank 500? Because they're getting to rank 500 by playing bots 90% of the time. So like, let's just open it up season. Let's see what happens. If it's bad, fix it the following season. But I don't know. The bots, I get why bots are there, but it's definitely unfair in some senses. So
I totally agree. And with the new mode Conquest coming next month, we should have no bots, strictly humans. All right.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see who was the better of the better, the best of the best at that time.
Yeah, very true.
All right. So with the new season, of course, we get new cards. This is a 5-week month, right? So we start off with Nebula. Next up is Ironland. So Ironland's ability is on reveal, copy the text of your deck's top card. All right. How do you guys feel about this card?
Go ahead, guest.
He's going to be one that I get for 6,000 tokens and then wait 7 days to use.
You gotta wait to see what other people are doing.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
Duck? No, you want Howard
I'm
the
waiting
Duck.
for Howard the Duck. 100%.
Yeah.
Iron Lad needs to be played with Howard the Duck. And they're a duo that if you're going to invest in one, invest in Howard the Duck. Don't invest in Iron Lad. But if you invested into Howard the Duck, you should know that the door should be open for Iron Lad because their synergy together is obvious and fantastic. You've got, Iron Lad who's taking the on reveal of copy the text, keyword, not the ability, but the text of the top card in your deck. And then you've got Howard the Duck that allows you to tap him and show, hey, by the way, this is what the top card is that's coming in. heads up. So then you can just have this automatic perfect play synergy, and you're going to have turn 3 Galactus. Literally. You go Howard the Duck, Zabu, Iron Lad notices a Galactus is on top of the deck. Boom. You're going to have it that fast and at 6 power. And they showed it in the video that, yes, he's going to put into a Galactus. The chance of that combo being consistent is impossible. It's just niche and fun. So let's just throw that out there.
Well,
It's not going to be the OP Galactus deck. It's going to be a fun variant to add into Galactus decks, but it doesn't make the Galactus deck better.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I think there's ways you can build around them. Now, the other thing. So you're looking at Iron Lad as kind of like the null, and Howard the Duck being the Galactus, right? And again, not clearly saying the Galactus deck. I'm just saying you're equivalent, right?
You
like
need
null's
one
good,
for the other,
but Galactus it's better with Galactus. Same thing here. Now, I think you can
100%.
build a deck around him without Howard the Duck. Yes, Howard the Duck's going to make him so much better. It's also going to make cards like Jubilee better, so you can see what's coming up with her. I know we're going to talk about Howard the Duck in a minute, but I think you can use Iron Lad with a very strategic deck. So you have to make sure, until you can see what that card is, you have to make sure you know that no matter what the next card is, that effect is going to be good. So if we think about a lot of decks right now, you have cards that don't interact well by themselves. So you think of like a Wong plus a Mystique. They have to go in a very particular order or they're bad, right? You think of cards like Patriot decks, right? You wouldn't want him to accidentally hit an Ultron too early and then clog up a whole bunch of lanes. But you can definitely put him in a deck with things like Jubilee, Dr. Doom, like the cards where if I play him on 4 and it hits a Dr. Doom, I'm happy. If I play him on 4 and it hits a Jubilee that hits a Dr. Doom, I'm happy, right? So I definitely think there's some decks that you can do, but you have to be very precise on every card in your deck to where there's not a dead hit with him. Like you're not going to have Ebony Maw in your deck or something like that, right? Because you don't want him copying that text. But yeah, I think he'll be good. He's definitely going to be a pickup for myself as well. And as far as playing him, I think I'll play around and experiment with some decks. I don't know if he'll be my go-to until I know I have a very, synergistic, precise deck, and Howard the Duck is definitely going to be the card that helps make that possible.
No, I totally agree. Howard the Duck will make this card way better, of course. I think this card reminds me of Lockjaw, kind of, because all your Lockjaw decks, if Iron Lad is in it, whatever card he pulls, you're happy with, right?
Yeah.
So I think you build a deck without Howard the Duck, like Lockjaw, all your big cards, whatever it is, you'll be happy. But with Howard the Duck, of course, it'd be a way better combo. And I think Howard the Duck should have been the first card that comes out.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they went this route, but I guess they wanted to give us this before we go with the Howard the Duck. Either way, yes, Iron Lad is a card that I'll be picking up as well. It's coming out next week for 6K tokens. We feel he's worth that, right?
Yeah.
To have an extra card in your deck, he's worth it. So now, for example, are we okay with playing 2 of the same card?
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
We're too cordial here, damn it. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I definitely think so. I think you look at that, plus you've got other cards you can put in there with Absorbing Man and things like that. But most of the time, as long as you got good cards in there, I'm cool with playing the same card twice.
Okay.
I think in a general good cards deck, you're going to be making a new archetype for him of like just a good abilities deck now. Like your Black Panthers, for example.
Okay, that's fair. Do we think Crystal gets buffed with this card?
Maybe.
I think she should. Well, she doesn't get buffed. She just gets mildly more interesting.
Interesting. Well, maybe with Howard the Duck more so than Iron Lad.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I think the hard part with Crystal is like right now she has the stipulation she has to be played in the middle lane. And so with so many, especially, we'll talk about in a minute, we've got another location that's going to prevent you from
Yes.
maybe using her on a certain turn. So
Yeah.
like there's so many locations starting to come up that say you can't play in this location, whether it's a certain turn, period, whatever it is. I think that hurts any of the cards right now that are locked to a very specific location. So I think if they maybe take that away from her, the stipulation from her, that just pretty much says, and I get that not having it allows you to maybe play somewhere else and still use her if you don't want to reshuffle. But I don't know. I mean, it definitely helps if you just had like a really crummy hand and you want to just reshuffle around. But the RNG in that still just scares me a little bit.
Okay, that's fair. And of course, the next card, the card we were just talking about, of course, is Howard the Duck. So is he going to be worth your 6K tokens? I'm sure you both will say yes. His ability is ongoing. Tap this to see the top card of your deck. Now, they did a, not a nerf, but they kind of changed Chavez's ability of always being the top card, putting her at the bottom, because of course, if she was in your deck, Howard the Duck will always see Chavez at the top.
There's a caveat. There's a caveat.
There's a caveat.
Let's hear
There's
it.
a big caveat because I found this out after doing some testing and realizing that, hey, why is Yondu all of a sudden still killing my Chavez on turn 1? Because Chavez is supposed to be in the bottom of the deck. Note, if you play Howard the Duck, do not play him in a deck that includes shuffling your cards like Crystal. So this kind of brings this all back.
Well,
together
if you have
play,
Chavez.
I'm getting there, damn it. So if you're doing the shuffle with Chavez at any point, whether it be through Lockjaw, whether it be through Crystal, through anything that mixes cards into your deck, including even Thor, all of that will mess up the order of the cards, which means that Chavez now has a new placement. So if you have Chavez in a shuffled deck and she ends up as the top card, she will still, just like she used to do, stay as the top card for X amount of turns until turn 6, and then she pulls away. So if you have Howard the Duck and you mixed up your cards and now Chavez is on top, Howard is most likely only going to see Chavez for the next couple of turns, so it's pointless. So they apparently did that on purpose.
Okay.
Yeah, I asked.
Just be careful.
I asked Glenn in the creator area about that when Guest found it. And he did confirm that is the way it's supposed to work. So not only are they cards that shuffle your deck on your side, you have to remember things like Rock Slide and Korg also throw things in your deck and shuffle them. So you need to be careful when it comes to Chavez specifically being in the deck. So again, Howard the Duck, totally fine checking out the cards as long as you don't have a card like Chavez, or I don't think there's any other card right now, but any other cards that may get stuck on the top of your deck at some point, because you never know what we'll get with future cards. But specifically right now, Howard the Duck plus Chavez, non-bow, don't do it. It's just going to hurt you.
Okay. You guys heard it here first. Do not put Chavez in a deck with Howard the Duck. Doesn't matter that she's supposed to be at the bottom. She will end up at the top if your cards ever shuffle. Thank you guys for that. Did not know that.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. All right.
She
could.
It could, but yeah.
Could. That's correct.
But will, because that's our luck. So
Because of course, that's especially as streamer luck, of course, for the three of us.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's like the danger room, right? 25% all the time.
25 every time. Every time.
So,
Danger Panther.
There you go.
No. Unless you're trying to throw a Bucky into it.
Oh yeah.
If you try to throw a Bucky, he's landing.
No,
he's not dying.
Yeah. No. Bucky, Electro,
Power.
or the Hood.
Hood,
Never
Yeah.
will die.
Never.
Speaking of that, congratulations, guests. You are now part of the verified crew, right? Congratulations.
Yes, sir. Yes,
That's
sir.
awesome.
I
Did
am
you- are
officially
you
a
in the
part
chat
of
already?
the creator group.
Yes.
I am not yet because priorities
Okay.
like season launch have to take that, thing
That's
that
fair.
I've done all my what I need to do on the back end and sent all
Okay.
that stuff in, and now I just sit
Perfect.
here patiently waiting my turn because
All right.
I'm excited to join my brethren like the two of you here. So I'm very
Awesome.
happy to be a part of it.
That is awesome. Welcome. That's
Yeah.
great stuff.
Thank you.
All right. So Howard the Duck. We spoke about him. We're going to get him. Any other synergy you see besides Ironland with Howard the Duck and Jubilee?
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of it, and I can't think off the top of my head of specific cards that you're going to want to know, but I think overall, just the synergy of knowing what card you're getting next is going to be pretty huge. So when you think about like, what am I going to play this turn, knowing that I'm going to draw a 1-drop next turn or I'm going to draw a 6-drop next turn is always going to be a huge advantage when you're going through there. I'd have to look back on cards. I don't know, guess if you have one other specific besides like Jubilee that would want to know. Lockjaw, I guess, right?
I mean, he does a shuffle though. He's not doing from the top of the deck specifically.
Oh, okay.
Knowing that you're going to get that pull, I believe the only 2 cards in the game right now that specifically use the phrase top of the deck or top of, in that instance are just Jubilee and what will be Iron Lad. So if you choose not to get Iron Lad, the discount version in a way is going to end up using Jubilee. But now you're just doing it for 2 board spaces and 1 little extra power. I think that Howard the Duck is going to be one of those just always good to have tech cards and is just always going to be an option of, well, which I need something to fill the curve. This is great either way. You're going to maybe see some nice synergies, for example, with ongoing decks for the Spectrum ongoings, because you're going to know if you're going, say you're getting into that turn 6 and I haven't pulled Spectrum yet. It's really good to know if you're going to pull it, because then you're making that final decision of, am I going with the Professor X lane and version, or am I using a Destroyer version? Or you kind of have that last turn affirmation heading into it. So that's probably going to be a secondary deck I'm going to try with Howard the Duck, is just a classic ongoing deck. But nothing jumps out at me quickly as I try to look at it on the back end here with just the word top of deck. But I think those are the only ones. It's, Jubilee. Yondu has that synergy for killing, but that's for the opposite side. And, that's really
about it. Okay. I feel that all the deck trackers, Snap.fan and Untapped, will be very happy with these 2 cards, both this and Iron Lad, because you could just sit there and hopefully guess, all right, this is the next card, So we'll see. That's the synergy I see with these 2 cards and those deck trackers. All right. And then we go on to the other card that's coming up, which is everybody's looking for this card. Everybody wants this card. This is the card that everybody says they want out of everything else, and that's the High Evo. This card does some amazing things to all the other vanilla cards. Now, this card itself is for a 7. But yes, Waz being a 0/1. All right. So out of all the cards that's coming out, I feel this card, not the card itself, but the abilities to these vanilla cards will be nerfed. But before we get into that, you guys are the guests. How do you guys feel about High Evo?
Some of us literally.
I just want to caveat before you jump in there, guys. Just again, if you're watching the stream, you're listening in, I continue to see this on Facebook. So let's clear it up now, guys. He will not work with Patriot. So don't put him and Patriot in the same deck thinking they're going to work, because at start of game, these cards are getting abilities and Patriot will no longer work with them. So I just want to throw that out because I keep seeing it getting posted on Facebook and I'm just like, guys, this is how this card works. So it replaces Patriot. It's a whole different style deck. So with that being said, guys, just jump in there.
Cool. So, outside of the caveat of, we'll probably find some weird hybrid cheeky deck just for fun anyway, with like Zero and Sauron and a whole bunch of stuff. But until then, we'll maybe not Sauron because that doesn't work except for Hulk, but we'll have some fun. Nevertheless, we'll have some fun. I think High Evo is out of the 2 because it's constantly back and forth and we have not gotten confirmation yet. I do think that this, because of how dynamic the synergies are, that he is the big bad. I do not think it's Living Tribunal. I think most of us are on that train, but you could still make a case for the other side. Right. I am most excited with this specific deck for none of these cards here. None of the cards that change directly. I think that this is the rise of Hazmat as a A-tier deck, because the amount of cards here that just reduce power, reduce power, reduce power. You're turning Wasp into essentially a 0/3. Abomination's going to have so many different ways to get out for free which will be the card that gets adjusted. That will say minimum of 1. Just get ready for it. Okay, just again come to terms with it. Yep. So like all of this, like reduce power here, reduce power here, reduce power here. That's the strength of the Hazmat deck. But the problem with the Hazmat deck is that it's not enough to take just 4 power away, or maybe 8 power away. You've got to land the combo to get multiple runs of that to go down. And with this now putting pretty beefy power out there in synergy with a good amount of reduction simultaneously, like the fact that Thing is now basically a 4/9. That's insane. Like high Evo is never going to get played. You're never going to see it on the battlefield ever, because there's so many other good cards that are going to evolve and so many other micro synergies that you're going to be able to make, because you're never going to play all of the cards together. It's always going to be the on reveal versions, or all the minusing versions, or the power gain versions. You're going to split this up into multiple parts.
I think,
And
he
his
ends
deck
up
building is awesome. It's awesome.
he ends up like Thanos, right? Like if you look at most Thanos decks, Thanos never gets played. You're messing with your stones, you're messing with the cards in the lockjaw. I mean, he may get played now with all the nerfs that have happened to the deck, but originally he didn't. I think he just plays that same kind of role. So if you need him on turn 6, or maybe you've got your Abomination down to a 1, so on turn 5 you drop him in Abomination or something like that. So I think he may see play every now and then, but I would agree with you on that he's probably not. I mean, he's not the focus. He's just giving these abilities because, I mean, there's some pretty crazy things they've done to these cards, and it's funny to me is like, I mean, again, going back to the Facebook to Reddit groups and things like that, everybody continues said like, hey, Cyclops needs to be better, right? Like, why is Cyclops, the leader of the X-Men, such a bad card with nothing, in him? And now, I mean, if you look at his ability, unspent energy every turn, you're putting -2 on random cards on that location, to where, I mean, throw him with a Sunspot, throw him with, She-Hulk as top end of this deck or something like that, and he's gonna be pretty good.
So I agree with you. The rise of Hazmat, but also the rise of Enchantress and Luke Cage, right? Because I think Luke Cage will be in everybody's card list after this card comes out. And Enchantress will have to be there too to shut that down. But no, I'm excited for this card and to see these cards get some abilities finally. Cyclops, these are the things that Cyclops needed before. I still think he should have been able to destroy the weakest cards on that location. That'd have been pretty cool. But to do this is still great too. And High Evo being that card to give these cards abilities is phenomenal. So even thinking about that, there could be other cards in the future that comes out that High Evo kind of works with, and that's going to be even awesome. Now, the other question comes in, what about the Raptors? What about the Ninjas? What about, I know they don't start in your deck, but those cards are just sitting on go ahead. What do we feel?
Well, that's been confirmed. Glenn's come forward and said it's only the 7 0 through 6 power, no ability ones. It's just them. It's not rocks. It's not raptors. It's not demons. It's not ninjas. It's just Wasp, Misty Knight, Shocker, Cyclops, the Thing, Abomination, Hulk exclusively.
Yeah, because it's at start of game, unlock secret abilities on the cards, on your cards. So
you're right. You're right.
But I agree with you though. I think that it's cool because now it opens up a space. Because I do feel like for the last few months, they're not gonna give us another vanilla card, right? Like most of these vanilla cards are series 1. Let's get you in the game. Let's let you understand it before we start adding in all these different abilities. So they had a place, and of course, Patriot was the spot where you could go, okay, well, they have a place, and I can use Patriot to help out. But it's definitely one of those. Now it opens up this potential of them going, hey, let's make a 6/16, right? Like a vanilla card that's better than Hulk, or let's drop another card that's a 0 cost or a 1 cost to help with the Khazar decks. But if you want to play him with High Evolutionary, now you've got a even better card. Because I do feel like the odd part about this is you have High Evolutionary, you have these cards, and so now you're having to add cards with text within the deck. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, like you mentioned, Hazmat. Even throwing in Wong and some of those to double up some of these, on reveals. but it would make sense if there was essentially 11 other cards without text that you could add with them as kind of a base. If you don't know what you're doing, throw these 11 cards with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that'd be great. I totally agree. And maybe we'll see some down the line, hopefully. But we see how that goes. All right. And we have the last card, the card that also everybody's looking to get and excited about. And that is the Living Tribunal.
That got updated today.
Yes. Sure
with
did.
his power.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
as of today, he's now a 6/6, right? Yep, 6/6.
Yeah.
And got some awesome variants, actually. Wow. Flaviano looks great.
Yeah.
All right. So his ability: split your total power evenly among all locations. He's essentially a Nexus. So far, every card we've seen, I think, is worth 6K tokens. So if you guys have your tokens, save up those 20, 24, 20, 20K tokens to get these cards. And I feel this card is going to be a great card to many decks and a great turn 6 play to try to win the game. But as I saw in the chat today, I think DefaultDan brought it up.
Mm-hmm.
Super Scroll is going to be a problem. How do you guys feel about this card?
we actually talked about Super Scroll earlier this week on our podcast too, so we'll get into that in a second. But as far as the Tribunal, here's the thing: I've been so against this card for the last month when he was a 3 power card. Now that he's a 6 power card, that is an additional 3 power, which it's not that much, but I don't know. I mean, it's definitely one of those cards where you're going to need to put cards with them. So Iron Man, Onslaught, that kind of stuff. But I mean, like if you can cheat this out, right? You put in Electro into a deck, and so you can get that Iron Man, Onslaught, Tribunal onto one location. It's going to be a pretty big problem. But I still feel like there's so many answers out there right now. With Enchantress getting a buff, you have cards like Rogue, that's starting to make a resurgence in the Silver decks because of Super Scroll, and because Super Scroll's pretty much just gonna be like, hey, I like your Tribunal. Here, I've got my own. Plus, it's got Iron Man's ability, and so on that you're using on top of the deck I'm already using. That's good. So I don't know. I mean, it's one of those cards where, is it going to be busted? Sure. There's going to be some games that this thing is going to look super busted. And then there's going to be a lot of games where it's not, because you're taking your 30 power now and splitting it over 3 lanes, and now you have 10 power in each lane. So you're going to have to play him a very specific way. And so for me, he's probably worth the 6,000 tokens, but in my eyes, I don't think he's better than the other cards we've seen. And again, High Evolutionary would definitely be my first spend over him, but I was wrong about Thanos. So I'll throw it over to Guest, because I know Guest is on the Tribunal train.
So I was very heavily on the Tribunal train when he was a 6/4, because my head kept going negative deck, negative deck, negative deck, negative deck, because that should have just been having
That's
him
true.
as a potential 4/6 with the potential of the Iron Man and the Mystique and the Onslaught on with magic and yada yada. Like, it would have been absolutely game-changing combos that would have been there. But now that he's 6/6, I think there's the thematic element as well, which is, well, if everything is even, why is his power and his cost not even? So there's that element to it. So I can understand if that's a part of it.
I think it was a math thing.
I think it was a
It's
math
harder.
thing as
It's
well,
harder to
because-
split 4 power over three locations.
Well, I don't think it has anything to do with his power, because it's about everybody's power.
I
It's
know.
not
Correct,
just his
correct,
power.
correct.
He's not that impactful because he's an even number that isn't divisible by 3. I think
just
that
makes it
argument
easy.
is incredibly for one card. Are you playing only Tribunal and risking
Maybe.
2 power on every lane? No. So-
Tribunal plus Iron Man. It's still even
And
over 3
plus-
lanes.
Oh, yeah.
No. It's
Plus
not going to be that,
Mystique,
because
0.
we already know the
still.
rounding system, though. We know the rounding system is if it is not divisible by 3
No,
plus
you're good.
1. It's going to round down. Plus 2, it's going to round up. We've gotten that confirmed also. With him being a 6/6, I think that this, at least in my opinion, almost mandates Magic as needing to be the synergy that coincides with Living Tribunal. I think you're going to need that 7th turn now to get the final extra oomph move, whatever it is, to, split it all out. I think Tribunal has a lot of cheeky plays that could be thrown out there too. I think you're going to see a lot of fake Galactus Tribunal decks because you're just throwing a lot of power all into one lane. You're throwing those cards that are, be destroyed, etc. And then all of a sudden, you've got Electro out, right? And you've just destroyed a whole bunch of stuff a couple of turns, and then boom, Null drops down. Why the hell is Null there? Living Tribunal. Like, I think there's going to be a lot of cool decks that come from this. He's not going to be a deck in and of itself necessarily, because he's going to be a card that plugs into currently existing decks.
Yeah.
I think he is still going to be worth 6,000 tokens because he's going to end up becoming this really great tournament card, because you're going to hang on to him for as long as possible. And then all of a sudden you've got this meta card that you can drop in on round 4 that, oh, well, now I don't know. Are you going to drop the Tribunal on turn 6 and divide the power up because you were playing an Omega Red deck or something? Like, he's going to have that type of awesome synergy. And I think he's still worth 6,000. I'm less excited about him at 6 power, but I'm still excited.
I mean, I still think he can go in a negative deck, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Iron Man 0-5, Mystique 0-3, right? Living Tribunal 6-6 anyway. I mean,
you could also do Zola in that deck too. So like you could copy your Iron Man into 2 spots. Like, it could be pretty crazy. Yeah.
2 Living Tribunals, right?
Yeah.
So I think, in a negative deck, it's still a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. This card's going to be crazy. Any nerfs for this card? I don't think so.
I think it's such a unique ability, and it's not one that I don't forecast becoming that big of an issue, but I think it will bring the rise back to cards like Black Panther and Shuri, and it will give them another purpose for a new, hey, this is the card you were missing for that specific deck type of thing. Like,
so
I think it's gonna be a fun card.
So I think what we're gonna see at some point, right? I don't think it'll be a nerf. I think it'll be a card that answers it. So he is ongoing. They changed it to be, instead of just text on the card, it was ongoing now. So yes, depending on turn, priority, you can still hit them with Enchantress or whatever to get rid of that. But I think what we're going to see eventually, and this may be a good segue also to your next topic, I think we're probably going to see a card that has the text that says text at this location out, all other cards except for this card, text at this location is disabled. So just like we're seeing with Enchantress being able to hit stuff, you're seeing, Red Skull being on the, or not Red Skull, Super Scroll being on the other end of that, of gaining everything. Like, I think we're going to get something like they did with Leech, but it just be like, hey, this is essentially an ongoing, but it's not. It's just saying, hey, all of the cards text is removed here. And maybe that's an answer to him as well. So you don't have to worry about priority and doing a non-reveal type thing.
That's fair. I totally agree with that. And before we dive into those new locations, I think the card that will be the answer for him is Galactus, right? Now, we want to talk about Galactus. I mean, you know what? Before we do that, because it's a good topic, we'll go into the locations, but we'll come back to Galactus. Yeah. So we have 2 new locations coming up. One is called Deep Space. Card text is disabled here, like DefaultDan just mentioned. We have Milano, which is turn 5 is the only turn cards can be played here. Now, these are 2 new locations that, again, prohibit us from playing, which I think we get a ton of these, and we need to stop because I'm tired of seeing these locations. Sandbar, Plunder Castle, Caracoa playing for us. Yes.
The miniature lab is so annoying.
Lab. Yes. I mean, it's great for Nebula now. Yeah. But I'm getting tired of these locations. How you guys feel about these 2 locations?
So the only upside to this one is it specifically says played, right? There's some other
Right.
ones where you can't add cards and things like that. Like, so we do still have, and the problem with this location, especially when it becomes the featured one, Doctor Doom's gonna be everywhere, right? It's gonna be Doom Wave. We're gonna be adding our Doom bots on turn 6 to it, and that's why it's gonna shine. But yeah, I really don't like this one. We've definitely seen the ones where they shut off at 4, they shut off at 5. They're annoying, but they're okay. Miniature Lab, I feel like, has been really annoying where it's shutting off at 2. So now to have a location that says literally, here's the only turn you can play cards here, I think is bad. I think it's a bad location design. Just like Plunder's Castle, I think is a bad location design where it has to be a 6-drop. So like Wave cuts off most of your plays.
Right.
Yeah, I don't like it.
I think it may need to have that text change like they did with the other location, like Crimson, and where it's the card, right? Not what it is currently, not the cost that it is, but the cost of that card. So if you do Wave, those 6 cost cards should still be played in Plunder Castle. But yeah, what do you feel about these 2 locations, guys?
Deep Space with the disabling of card text, that's just, straight up muscle for muscle at that point. I don't mind that one when it's a featured location. It might become a little bit annoying, in the future, considering that you're just trying to find it. Well, no, it's not no ability. It doesn't have the ability removed.
Right.
It's just card text is disabled. So
right.
I think the fact that you're using the phrasing disabled, it does not mean no ability. Because disabled is different. No ability would be like a raptor that says the text scree. So I think that this is just nothing works with it. It's just muscle it out.
I need to test that. Well, let's test that later because I want to see Leech. I want to see Leech plus Patriot because it'd be the same effect. I have not tried it since they changed Leech.
Leech disables or Leech? He does disable, right?
Yeah. It disables it on turn 6. So if I play it on turn 6, does Patriot pump it up? It used to be.
He removes abilities. He removes abilities, quote unquote.
Okay.
Oh, he does?
Disable text?
All abilities. It's not disable text.
All right.
So because of that, I think it's just going to be like, you got a super scroll. He's just 2 power. That's all he's got. Good luck.
Right.
Like that kind of a thing. With Milano, turn 5 is the only turn cards can be played here. You hit the big word on that, Dan, which was, played. So you are looking at all of your other throw them across the way synergies. You're looking at your Ultron, your Doctor Doom, your Squirrel Girl, etc. It's going to be one of those. This is basically just Sanctum Sanctorum with a backdoor.
Yeah.
That's how I'm looking at it. And when I look at it from that perspective, it's annoying, but I think it will be just like, hey, this is going to be a location you should play, a featured location that you should play into, build a deck around, because it's going to be later on in the month. This is the time to climb. Go ahead and build a deck that has a bunch of those things and Mr. Fantastics that reach outward, etc. But I'm not too worried about it later on being mixed in. Deep Space is just going to be really annoying. Almost as annoying as District X, almost, but not to that. Like, that's its own category.
Yeah, that's a whole different annoyance.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. So we spoke about the cards we're most excited about this season. We spoke about the cards that will be nerfed. The card that everyone's talking about now that feels is a problem is Galactus. So I've seen a ton of content creators, a ton of players. Everybody have mixed feelings about it, but the majority, the needle is swinging towards Galactus is a problem. I don't believe it's a problem. I want to hear what you guys feel. Then I'll give my take on it. Guess it looks like you're ready. Who wants to go first?
Oh, I'm stretching. I am raring up, because I know where Default Dan sits on this. So, without this needing to have a part 2 podcast, I'll try and summarize my opinion on the Galactus situation in a very condensed manner for you, because I respect you and I like you and I like your viewers, even though I don't know them. But soon, hopefully, you shall over on our podcast as well. Galactus isn't a problem. Tokens are a problem. Galactus is not a difficult deck to navigate around. Knowing where to use your collector's tokens is even easier, because everything has a big bad value. You have Thanos, which is always 6,000 tokens, and you have Galactus, which is always 6,000 tokens. It is an extremely easy archetype to understand and build. You have these cards, you play these cards. You don't, you play these. If you get everything filled up or someone plays a debris, run like hell. That's it, game over, it's brainless. It's an incredibly easy deck to run. And because of that, and because you have such limited access to your collector's tokens, and you're trying to figure out, should I use it on the new shiny toy, or should I use it on the deck that quite a few people, to say the minimum, are running, I think that the deck is not necessarily the issue. It's more about the fact that when you get your collector's tokens and you've got to choose, what are you going to want to invest 6,000 into? The deck that is tried and true and will climb, but it's a slow and steady grind, and it will definitely work, which is why it takes over the meta in so many different ways. Or are you going to try it based on the YouTube videos of people who have only less than 3 days of experience with a card and said that this is absolutely worth your 6,000 tokens? It's too risky. You make a safer investment. When it comes to countering the card, and there's a lot of conversations, a lot of people have posted a lot of stuff about, well, it's easy to play around. It is easy to play around, but the purpose of building a deck in Marvel Snap is not to say, I need to be always ready for this deck. If you encounter it, you try to play around it, but knowing that it's over, 10 to 15% of the decks played to what we know currently based on, the trackers that we both have, access to, it's a nuisance and it is brainless, but it is effective. So if you're someone who likes to fulfill all of your dailies, if you're someone that needs to, fill out your series 3 and you're just trying to move up the collection ladder and you got those tokens, of course, we're going to say invest into Galactus. Thanos first, Galactus second, Kang will talk next week. So right. I think that there's that deep issue rooted in this that isn't being talked about, because I've listened to a lot of content over the last couple of days specifically talking about this, whether it be on Twitter, whether it be on other podcasts, whether it be on Reddit. A lot, as you said, a lot of people are talking about this, and there's a lot of positive conversation about what the issue is. But I think the bigger issue at hand is the fact of the accessibility of making that deck appear in your roster as a choice is a huge part of it that is not being discussed. Because I know you've done it. I've watched you do it, Ken. I've watched you do it, Default Dan. People say, hey, I've got 6,000 tokens. Should I get Galactus or should I get Iron Lad? We're almost always going to say, get Galactus. It's the safe bet. And we're all just as guilty for making that eventually happen. There are ways around it that you could adjust or nerf things. Galactus doesn't need to be nerfed necessarily. I think Galactus needs to be changed.
No,
different than nerf.
Well, and I think that they've already nerfed him where they needed to, which was make him a 2 power. That way you still have answers like Professor X and some other cards to where, like, hey, if I see that you're doing this on turn 5, I'm just going to Professor X the lane and I win. There's a lot of, like you mentioned, there's a ton of answers to it. Debris, Professor X, Polaris pulling something into that lane. I mean,
Goblins,
yeah. I mean, there's some games that feel bad, right? They turn 3 Electro into turn 4 Doc Ock, and they literally pull your hand, and you have nothing left, and you're top decking into their Galactus, and that feels bad. But there's a lot of games where you're going to be in that situation where you're just not going to win it, and so I don't think he's to the point that the deck needs to be nerfed or anything. But I will caveat all of this with the fact that we are all Series 3 complete. We're all like into heavy into Series 5 and 4 and 5 and stuff like that.
The collectors.
Yeah. So I think that where some people are seeing Galactus being a problem, and again, this is because I hang out on the Facebook groups and Reddit and things like that, is those people that are barely into Series 3 and people have those tokens and they've bought Galactus and they're playing Galactus against people that don't have these crafted decks that have 1 or 2 answers popped in their deck. They're specific answers to Galactus, but they're also just good cards that work with your deck. So I think that when we hear people complaining, I think it's a lot of that rather than us being like, using the top index.
Well, here's the thing. I'm gonna push on the idea of exasperation, because I watch content creators on Twitch and in YouTube videos when they go up against a Galactus deck. The second you see Yondu, they're already squinting. And the second they see Wolverine, they're yawning. Or Cloak. Or nothing, and then turn 3 Electro. Well, there you go. Like, it's brainless and it is boring. At least if you see a Misty Knight, you don't know, is it Cerebro or is it Patriot? Who knows? Tune in next week. Like that.
It's always
Patriot.
Patriot.
You have to,
Right.
you have to
Always
play into
now.
it. Yeah, normally, let's be honest here. But yeah, you got to play into it a little bit. And that's, I think, a huge part of this conversation is you're just tired of it. So I talked about it last week on our podcast where I don't think that the Galactus deck necessarily needs an issue. I think one of the things that should happen is I think Null needs to be a 6-2. I think that he is, because then he cancels out the power of Galactus and now it's a dead even. So now you have to land the right combos, and Null is the reason people retreat. It's not death. It's almost never death. Death is like, that's 12 power. Okay, I think I got a Chavez or I got this. Okay, I should hold on a little bit. But when you just killed 2 whole lanes that had 20 some odd power each, and you don't have either Enchantress, Rogue, or Shang-Chi, as well as letting them have priority with a 2 power card, you know, I think that that's a huge part of it. And I think if you drop Null down even just a little bit, that might be a part of what assists it, because the devs are not going to nerf Galactus. Let's make that really clear. They're not going to ruin anything about Galactus. But if they did,
what do you think they should do?
I think they should invert what his ability does.
So
destroy the lane that he's played into, as long as no other cards are played here. And then leave the other 2 lanes. Because remember, he eats worlds. So now you've got 2 lanes open.
Yeah, but then he kills himself.
He kills. Oh, right. 2 power. Wah.
Yeah,
but
well, like, I'm saying, like,
think about
if
you're
going
how
aesthetics,
cool would that be?
Yeah, but if you're going aesthetics, he's not going to kill himself. But
he returns to your hand. There,
I don't know.
He returns to your hand as well. Add that on.
That's tough.
I think that would be fun. It would be a fun, because now it's a completely different deck. Now it actually brings different interest to Galactus, because now the strategy is ass backwards. It's completely like, well, it's not about load, Galactus, you know, and then just trying to drop that over in the corner, and then Nimrod moves. Like, now it's a whole nother strategy. And a lot of cards change, a lot of priorities change. I think it's a solve for him. But again, I reiterate the prior statement. I do not think Galactus is the problem. I think the collector's token system and us are the problem. We, the content creators, because we have unfortunately accidentally enabled exactly what has become an issue, which is everybody has Galactus, because we all said, oh, you got 6,000 tokens. You should probably go get one of these 2 first.
Well, I'm interested in your opinion, Super Tech, when we look at this, because from my perspective, I don't feel like I see Galactus that much. I feel like I see Galactus 1 in 15 or 20 games, maybe. And so in those 15 or 20 games, I, half the time have the answer. So I'm not getting beat by Galactus all the time. So I mean, like, what are your thoughts?
Honestly, we could go into what I think is really happening now, because if I don't play Galactus, I don't see Galactus. But if I play Galactus, I see Galactus. We could talk about that, because I know Second Dinner said they don't do deck matching or look at decks. It's hard for me to believe. If they said they do it, I believe them, but it's hard for me to say that, because
I
hate
this conversation, man. I hate this conversation.
I'm a big Infinite fan. That's my favorite card. Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't played Infinite in forever. Tell me the last time I've seen an Infinite. A long time, right? Probably when Thanos was still rocking with the throne, with the Quinjet.
Lockjaw decks.
Right. Yeah. The last time I saw Infinite without Lockjaw. Last night, I started playing Infinite with Nebula, right? Sunspot Nebula, kind of. So I put Infinite in the deck. Guess what I lost to? An Infinite. Okay, so I haven't seen an Infinite, because I'm playing Hitmonkey. Haven't seen an Infinite. Play Galactus. Haven't seen an Infinite. All of a sudden, I put Infinite in my deck last night with Nebula. Infinites are showing up. So back to the Galactus thing. I don't see it that much. And when I do see it, you're absolutely right. I know what's coming. I know how to beat it. Very simple.
Yeah.
I sit back and I go, do I want them to destroy this lane, or do I want to Doc Ock and pull the cards and stop them, or do I want to Professor X? I've done that today. Professor X and take over their Galactus. So it's definitely ways to beat it, and I don't think. I mean, maybe we are the problem. Maybe we are the problem, but that's how the game was created, right?
We
have the
problem. Past tense.
Okay.
We're not the problem anymore. Don't leave us, people. We're not the problem anymore. We have learned from our mistakes, and we're all telling you, just go for high evolutionary instead. But I think
yes, I agree
that
that's going to be a problem. I agree too. That's going to get nervous.
It's going to be
everybody's going
different problem. But again, but it is the fact that the system, it feeds into that. That's what the system does. Is it says, hey, these are always going to have good value, economic value. So you might want to ignore the Kang on the shelf, but like these two over here, they're great.
Wait,
so
no.
Play into them.
Get Kang and then Iron Lad. So now you have another Kang. And then you use Absorbing Man, so you have another Kang.
He stays on the shelf until Conquest.
Absorbing Man,
wait for Conquest. I'm gonna slap both of you through the screen. I swear, no. Like, do not instigate this madness. You wait till Conquest, please, and then bring Kang off the shelf. Okay?
Yeah, I think honestly, making Null a Series 4 is the problem. I think that caused the issue, because before Null was a Series 4, we didn't see a lot of Galactus. The only people playing Galactus was whoever had Null, and that was the content creators, the top percentage that had all the cards.
Yeah.
The minute Null dropped lower and everybody can pick up Null, they didn't run to the death decks. No. They ran the Galactus.
Yeah.
Because of that,
100%.
That's what I feel happened. Honestly, because Galactus
we
out
saw
for
this.
A while.
Well, and we saw the same thing with Shuri, right? As soon as Shuri dropped down, that's when Shuri became the problem, because everybody had Shuri, and it was super easy to make that deck.
Exactly. And I think if they kept Null up in Series 5, we probably won't have this Galactus issue as much. Yes, people will still buy Galactus, but because of Null going down, that's what kind of sparked their eyes, right? Because they're like, who can I play Null with? It wasn't Death. It was Galactus. And I think that's also the issue. As far as Galactus being nerfed, my take. I don't think he should be. Not even changed at this point. I just think, again, we need more cards to be buffed, or more cards that can stop him. And I think Galactus is the answer to Living Tribunal, because without Galactus, the Living Tribunal can run rampant, right? Just think about that. Yeah. So I think we have some type of checks and balances right now. And I'm sure it doesn't matter what I say, the majority of people want to see a change to Galactus. And if it happens, that might be the best change for him, because giving him more power or less power, or giving Null a negative power, I don't think will fix what people want that think is the problem. I think giving him that ability of only destroying one lane, or keeping the other twos available, whatever the case is, I think that will probably be the best change that people want to see.
I think a better change than that, right? Like, so I agree with you that right now, once he destroys the other two lanes, it just changes the fabric of Marvel Snap, which is win the most out of 3 lanes. And I think that's the biggest complaint. But him eating one lane, I feel like almost kills the card. I don't think I'm playing Galactus if he's just eating one lane. Shang-Chi can be good enough to eat one lane, essentially, if they've got big drops that I don't like or something. But you bring up an interesting, potential of what they could do. So I've seen a lot of people ask the question, especially when Galactus first came out, why can armor not protect my lane? Why can Wakanda Embassy, why does it get destroyed? Because things can't be destroyed here. So I think what you could actually do is either one, create a card which maybe wouldn't make sense, right, to protect a location, but maybe you turn that into that. Wakanda Embassy doesn't get destroyed. Maybe armor does protect the lane, and that is a new answer for Galactus that's not too powerful, because it would only affect Galactus, and it's just a slight tweak to the way armor works or the way that location works. It's different. It's weird, but maybe that's something that could be an interesting way of playing
I
with
like that. Yeah, I do like that because Wakanda, not Wakanda, let's see, Wakanda by itself, right? Yeah.
Oh, just Wakanda. Okay.
Yeah. I always said that location should not be like armor. It should be better than armor, right?
Mhm.
It should. Nobody can lose energy here, right? No one can. So no hazmat can hurt anybody in Wakanda. Nobody can be, anything. And if somebody play Lizard and you play that card in Wakanda, it goes back to its power. Like Wakanda should protect every ability, even leech abilities. Wakanda should bring it back. So to have it where it doesn't get destroyed, I think is not bad.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely an interesting one to take there.
Say it again.
You coming in and out just a little bit there, guys.
Sorry, I think if that happens, then you're just taking out America Chavez, and you're putting in Living Tribunal, and he's your backup plan, and then we're in the same exact problem again.
I mean, I like when you mentioned that earlier. But when you mentioned that earlier, I like that. I like that idea of like taking a Galactus deck and making it playable in battle mode, in Conquest, adding a whole nother win condition of, hey, I'm going to do this instead. I'm going to trick you into thinking I'm doing Galactus, and then all of a sudden, bam, Living Tribunal. Yeah. After I've thrown down Doc Ock and some of these other big cards. So I don't know. Is it going to be a problem? Maybe. But I definitely think it's just one of those things where if you wanted to touch Galactus, I'm not saying that's the answer, right? I'm not saying make armor work that way. I'm just saying moving some power up and down, it's not what the people are complaining about. What people are complaining about is the fact that I've played everything in this lane, and now you've destroyed my lane. And now I can't win these 3 locations because there's only one. Like, I think that's kind of the issue people have with Galactus. And he's a big bad. He should be that powerful. But I don't know. I don't know what they do to him directly. We saw Thanos get some changes with the stones and things like that, and Galactus doesn't really have that. So I think you have to work around him, like you mentioned, right? Like you mentioned with Null, but -2 power. I mean, if you're winning with Null Galactus, you're usually winning by like 60 points. So I don't think -2 is going to matter that much. I
think it's a starting point, though. I think that knowing the devs, they're going to start with the cards around it.
But I don't think Null really is the winning factor for Galactus that I see. I think it's Spider-Man, to be honest.
Now, yes, I've definitely been seeing the Spider-Man.
Only if you get wave.
Only if you get wave.
Only if you get wave.
That's fair.
But
that's fair.
I'm seeing Electro way more than I'm seeing wave.
Yeah, that's
I
fair.
feel like, at least personally, I feel like I go up against more Galactus combos versus wave Galactus combos. Because yes, if you get wave and they play Galactus, just leave. Just make your life easier, because it's not worth the heartbreak of being webbed in the face. But I think they start with the cards around it, and maybe an answer is cards that are destroyed via Galactus don't affect death because they weren't destroyed by other cards. They were destroyed by, a giant beam of light,
but then
crashing down or something. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're gonna go down the weeds with this one, but
many different ways.
Then if you do that, you got to look at Lamentus, and you got to look at a few other stuff. So I don't know. I don't know. But
true.
So I did want to do just one circle, because we mentioned them for a second, or we mentioned location a second. But I did get confirmation from the devs. Patriot will not work with the cards on Deep Space. So did want to throw that on the podcast. It does not work. They do retain their abilities, but they are turned off because if the location goes away or they move to a different location, their abilities will come back. So,
all right. So guess you were right. There you go. All right. So Galactus should remain this way it is. That's how I see it. Unless we, buff his power, make him a 6/9. So it's always priority.
Everybody retreat.
Yeah, there you go. So OTAs has been great. We got 2 buffs, 2 nerfs almost every week. Well, the first 2 weeks of the OTAs. What do you guys feel are going to be the new OTA updates this week?
So I talked a little bit about this last week on our podcast for the Snapback. And the ones that, none of the ones that I wanted happened personally. I was really hoping for something outside of Sandman, but let's be honest, everybody saw that one coming.
Yeah.
I already talked about Null here. I think knowing what the high evolutionary is coming to be, you've already touched on one, which is Luke Cage. I think that his effect is going to be so strong that Luke Cage will be worthy of dropping him down to a 2-0. So I think that makes him very viable for some bigger decks. And without going down the whole list, I'll just pick one, and I'll say I'd love to see Orca get a buff and bring him from a 6-9 that gets +5 if he's by himself to a 6-11. So that way he's still under the Hulk 6-12,
Right.
threshold, but he could be a 6-16 all by himself. And I think for the risk of sacrificing all those other spaces on the board, I
Why
think
not?
that might now have some competition to hold up. So that would be the big one for me, because Orca's a meme right now. He's just a meme card, and that means he needs some love.
Okay. What about you, Dan?
Yeah, so again, I really like where Snap is right now in general. I think there's a lot of these OTA changes have been incredible, to where we've had cards like this last week. Enchantress starting to make a little bit of a comeback because now she's on par with White Queen. And so if I'm, just kind of looking around, I always look at cards that are interesting and fun that we just haven't necessarily played in a while. And I think it's Watu. So Watu, I think, has a really cool ability to where if you have them in your hand turn 1 or 2, you can see those locations. But having a 1-2 in your hand is really bad. So, maybe it's to change him to a 1-3. But even then, like, he's going to feel really bad when you draw him on turn 4, because now he's just a 1-3. So I don't know. Maybe seeing him as a 1-4 or 1-3 could be interesting. 1-4 is going to be little on the high side, but but I would definitely like to see maybe a 1-3 and see if he gets a little more use out of there. And with Shayna getting her buff, and some of that, maybe hitting him on a 1-3 instead of a 1-2 could also be helpful with those decks.
Or maybe you can't play him at all. If he's in your deck, he takes up a spot, but you can see where those 3 locations are at the beginning of each turn. I think that'd be better.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe it'd be too much text on the card, but like, what if he's in your hand at the start of the game every turn with that? Because like, if he's a 1-2, but you always get to see the locations, I think it'd be interesting.
Quicksilver.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like Quicksilver plus his ability, and he's a 1-2, but maybe that kills Quicksilver. Maybe then you have to buff Quicksilver to a 1-3, or maybe he's a 1-1, but that's not an OTA change. So
that's true.
Right.
Now we're changing card text, but I don't know. Like, Watu's one of those cards where I feel like there's some games where I like him in my hand, and it's really cool to be able to see. Oh, I'm not gonna be able to, especially with like Milano and some of these locations.
Yeah.
I would love to know Milano's coming in on turn 3, so let me go ahead and load it up. Yeah,
that's true. So. All right, that's fair. I definitely want to see 2 cards. Crystal get a buff, as I mentioned earlier, whether in power or in cost, bring her down to 3. I think at that point, at least you have 3 turns to shuffle your hand, right? So I put it as a 4 is kind of tough. And also, like we mentioned, play in any location, but as an OTA change, I think a 3 would be a better change for her. And also, because move decks is becoming better, and of course in June we got a bunch of move stuff coming, I still think Human Torch needs to be buffed. He should be a 2. There's no way he should be a 1, because we get him so powerful, and then Killmonger shows up, and we can't say put him in armor because we're moving him. We don't know what lane we're going to put him in armor in. So I think he should be like a 2-3. And
you make me happy.
It's the truth.
So happy.
Yeah. We actually we talked about this the other day on the podcast, and my concern, right? Because Guest made the same argument. It needs to be a 2-3. My problem with him is that means you move him twice, and he's a 12 power. Like, he goes from 3 to 6 to 12, and moving him 3 times is very easy to do. Even making him add a turn 2 drop, because you can, whether it's Iron Fist turn 1, him turn 2. Now he's already up to a 6. and then you Doctor Strange, and now he's a 12. And then last turn you Heimdall, and now he's a 24. So I would do it.
Shang-Chi.
So
Yeah.
what's the
I
big
mean,
deal? You already
That's-
have Vulture, which is already going from a 3/3 to a 3/13 with 2 moves as well. Point in
Yeah, but-
being,
but he's a 3, so
Yes.
you're cutting off a couple turns there to where that's about his high point. Whereas, yeah, I don't know. I agree with you that a 1-drop feels bad because
Okay.
there's a lot of times where you throw him down and then he just dies. Last
So make
turn.
him a 2/2.
So-
How about a 2/2?
Yeah.
Would that be better?
So you're yeah. I think a 2/2 is viable. You're getting rid of his vulnerability.
Yeah.
But you're not making him overpowered. I think a 3, he's just slightly
Okay.
going to be too much of a problem.
Yeah,
I'll
I
live
think
with it.
2/2 would be good then, because we
Yeah.
can't put him 1 or 0 because it would look like Deadpool at that point, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
So I think I think 2/2 would be perfect. But yeah, I think he needs that change in power because Killmonger just wipes all that out. So all that hard
Can I
work.
ask you one question though? So
course.
if we're looking at him going to a 2/2, right? We look at that from a change of Series 3, Series 4, to Series 5. Right now, move decks are the best Series 2 deck. Does that mean in Series 2, and maybe it's not a problem because it's only like 2 months or something for most people, but like, does that mean Series 2, he has no answers because right now Electro would kind of be your answer to him until he gets way big with the Shang-Chi, which Shang-Chi's Series 3?
Series 2.
Or is he 2?
I think
I'd have to look.
He's 2.
It's been so long.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm about to say the same thing. I think he's 2. I don't think he's 3.
Okay. I guess that's the question for you is like, does that make him too powerful in Series 2, or do we just not care because most players are into Series 3 fairly quickly?
And most players aren't playing move. So I think
Yet.
next month is going to be a different ball game. Next month is going to be
Foreshadowing.
bananas.
Yeah.
But I think I hear you, and I think his answer will be Shang-Chi.
Okay.
Or something to stop him from moving. Because but I still think him being a 2/2 or him being a 2 power just needs to happen because of his ability. Because like I said, there's no answer to Killmonger, right? We're not nerfing Killmonger. I don't think Killmonger needs to be nerfed. But even Elektra used to destroy your powerful Human Torch. And I think we have enough 1-cost cards that's powerful enough that can still be in that 1-cost area. I mean, you look at it, Iron Fist is a move card. He's 1, right? Then Human Torch could be 2, right? You got Vulture and Doctor Strange at 3. You have Cloak as well at 2. So, I mean, him being a 2-cost would be perfect, I think.
You know what happens? So I always think about like my knowledge of Marvel because I love comics and everything. But if move becomes a problem, they can bring in a character like Graviton.
Yes.
And then make it to where like literally it just says like cards here can't move. They can't leave this location and or cards can't come into this location, whichever way you want to put it. I don't like to come into this location
Professor
because
X?
right. But instead you can do it the different way where you can still play cards into it, but they can't move from it. So like Stegron. Yeah, so like Stegron gets shut down, Juggernaut gets shut down, plus all the move decks as an answer. So again, future card, maybe. Who knows? If move with the Spider-Verse coming in next month, if we need to do something about it, that could be a potential way of doing it.
Or
so should we trigger Ken?
Let's try it. Let me hear it.
Go for it.
I think rescue needs to be a 3/4.
Why?
Yeah, this is his.
Why?
So I think rescue being a 3/4, knowing that you are going to play it on 3 gives you 3 turns to potentially Shang-Chi it. It's kind of like Shuri forecasting, where on the one end, if it survives, there's a hell of a lot of reward, and otherwise there's a lot of ways around it to absolutely demolish it. Even with Silver Surfer, seeing the rise of Enchantress to take down armor around it, I think that it becomes a super high target card and brings interest to rescue, because when you play rescue currently with Zabu, it's amazing. And I think that it would make it a lot more exciting and increase rescue's usability. as is with the +5
I
and
don't.
everything.
I don't agree with him though, but
I
Yeah,
know
but
you don't, but that's what
I
I'm
don't
saying.
care for the
a three,
I don't care for
a
the-
I
3-9 is
I
too
like
strong.
that's what I said. Let's
Yeah,
trigger Ken and see
exactly.
see how he
Yeah.
feels.
Too strong. I don't
Great.
think
I also want Maximus
3-9.
nerfed, but like, just put this one in there too, just for fun.
Maximus. I agree with that. He don't need to be a 3-7.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yeah,
His
I think it'd be a
his-
3-6 and he'd be fine.
Yeah, because people
There you go.
saying your opponent getting 2 cards is a down. No, that's great. That's fantastic. Yeah, he don't need to be
Yeah.
a 3-7. He should be a 3-6. 100.
Yeah.
Totally agree with that. No, rescue should stay where she's at. 4-4. That's totally fine. She don't need to be a 3-9.
Yeah, she's a 4/4 right now.
And I think Shuri needs to be reworked a little bit. I still believe we shouldn't have to play the next card. It should be the next card, but not the exactly next card that plays on her. They do
because
that.
I think
Shuri perfect.
correct me if I'm wrong right now, right? If you skip turn 5, turn 6, they don't get the buff. Is that right?
No, they still get the buff.
Oh, they do. Okay.
It's just the next card you play there.
They do.
So my mind, I would say if I put Shuri in the left lane and I play another card in the right lane, then I should be able to play on Shuri on the next turn, and that card gets the buff. But they're saying
I got
the
you.
minute the next card you play has to be on
Has to be
Shuri,
there. Yeah.
or
Right.
it doesn't get the buff. And I think that's not fair. I think it should be, because that
For
way
Shuri.
now people are playing that game like, oh, you're going to play in the Shuri lane now? Or you're going to wait? You know what I mean? So I think that's the way they should kind of switch her up. Exactly.
Be fun.
But yeah,
I like it.
mean, I like the OTAs.
Give it like a Hawkeye. Give it like a Hawkeye like animation, right? But like you're saying, it just stays there until you play card there.
Yeah.
Correct. It shouldn't be the next card, because now you're basically forcing me to play there, and of course, make my opponent know, hey, I have to play here to get this Shuri buff.
Flavor wise, it makes sense too, because it just like it technically kind of turns that location into a Shuri's lab, right?
Right. Just for that one turn. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's the way it should be, because this way, now my opponent has to guess: should I put something there? Should I play my Shang-Chi because they got priority, because I know they have to play there, or do I wait till they actually play there?
Yeah.
And I think that would be cool if they did that.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
But the OTA stuff is great. Can't wait to see what happens this week. You guys have anything else you want to talk about before we head out?
No, man. I'm just, again, I'm excited about this season. I've been having fun playing Nebula, and playing with the new cards we just got with Jeff and those. Can't wait for all these new cards to drop, because every one of them, like I said, I've been hoarding those tokens. Every single one of them I'm gonna be picking up. So super excited about that. I'm glad we are where we are right now, outside of what we talked about earlier. Like, get rid of the bots. Make people climb. It's discouraging to a lot of the player base to see multiple people posting on Twitter that, hey, 2 hours and I'm at infinite, and they're struggling because their MMRs are not that high and they're not hitting that many bots. So I'd like to. That's the only thing. It's a whole nother podcast to dive into, but definitely one of those where we got to see what happens there. How about you guys?
What about you?
I feel like this is going to be an absolutely exciting month for Marvel Snap, over, minus the Galactus conversation of, do you like going up against it or like playing it or not? I think that overall the game is in a very healthy place, and Galactus is just a big giant ass pimple on your face. You're still a beautiful person. You're still great. Your skin looks great. Just ignore the blemish and just put a little cover up on it. We'll figure out what to do there. And once we do that, and once the devs figure out what's going to be the way to handle that situation somehow, because they do listen to the community very, very effectively, and they're very in tune with what is going on outside of just their own little 50-person team. I think that the game is in a really healthy place. I think there's going to be a lot of really fun deck building events that are going to happen over the next couple of weeks because of all these new cards. There's a lot of great tournaments coming up. It's a great time to be in Marvel Snap.
Yeah.
Except when you see Wolverine on 2.
I totally agree. I think we're in a good spot now. Even though I'm a big Shuri fan, and the nerf had to happen, I totally understand why. But yes, we're in a great spot with weekly OTAs. I think that's phenomenal too. So I can't wait to see what happens. This month is going to be phenomenal. I think next month is going to be great too. And yeah, the future looks good as long as we get the new modes, right? Conquest needs to come right now. That's going to help keep the game fresh and keep everything going and bringing more people to Marvel Snap. So totally happy about it. And I appreciate you guys coming out, hanging out with me. We're going to have all your links to your everything down below. Please, guys, show these guys love. Totally appreciate that. And hope to see you guys back soon, huh?
Yeah, absolutely, man.
All
Love
right,
it.
guys.
Yes, please. Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us. We appreciate it.
No problem. Peace.
All right.